Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Wednesday, July 22nd. I'm Sarith Hawk. Powerful license plate reading technology is being used by the Fresno Police Department, and it's sparking heated conversations about mass surveillance.
Why is crime down? People have different reasons and arguments about it, but I truly do believe technology is part of it. It's up to us to do our best to use it responsibly.
Why the police department says it's a necessary tool. We speak one-on-one with Fresno's police chief, but first, these news headlines. Federal agencies have admitted to using keywords to terminate over 1,000 research grants at the University of California. They include terms related to diversity, vaccine hesitancy, and COVID-19. This admission is a significant development in a lawsuit filed by UC researchers against the Trump administration. Lawyers for the researchers argue that the agencies illegally canceled nearly $2 billion in grants. They argued it violated the First Amendment and are asking the judge to declare these actions unconstitutional. A court hearing is scheduled for October. California is trying to reduce the harm of pesticides to communities by studying alternatives to fumigant chemicals. But a recent report reveals that a solution may be harder to find than expected. KVPR's Crescencio Rodriguez Delgado has this report.
A recent study into alternatives for fumigant pesticides looked specifically at the pesticide methyl bromide and three others known as MITC generators. Those are used to control weeds and insects in the soil before crops are planted, but they are also strictly regulated because they pose a high risk to public health. Methyl bromide, for example, has been phased out in large part because of properties that harm the Earth's ozone layer. That's why researchers from the California Council on Science and Technology have been working to find alternatives, but so far their research has not found chemicals that can come close to the effectiveness of the current pesticides. And the cost of those alternatives also adds barriers to growers. The director of the state's Department of Pesticide Regulation said the department will continue to explore more solutions. For KVPR News, I'm Crescencio Rodriguez Delgado.
A Fresno-based company known for flavored syrups and other beverage ingredients has been purchased in a major deal. The exact value of the deal involving Lions Magnus wasn't disclosed, but the Wall Street Journal reports it reached nearly $1 billion. Lions Magnus services customers in the food industry, including restaurant chains and coffee shops. Since 2017, the company has nearly doubled its annual revenue.
Your news day doesn't have to end after Central Valley Daily. Check out KVPR's broadcast, where you'll get top headlines, in-depth analysis, and some fun pop culture coverage. Stream KVPR online at kvpr.org or through your smart speaker.
And now to our main story. Automated license plate recognition, or ALPR technology, has been around for decades. But a new AI-powered version made by a company called Flock Safety is raising major privacy concerns. The advanced cameras capture not only license plate numbers, but intricate details of vehicles that go into a searchable database. Privacy rights advocates are concerned that the vast and interconnected network of flock cameras creates a surveillance dragnet, infringing upon the civil liberties of everyday citizens. In the city of Fresno, 70 such cameras are installed at locations that are designated as high crime. The police department says having the cameras has led to a reduced crime rate, which is now at a 51-year low. But the department emphasized the safeguards in place for data access. On Monday night, the Fresno Police Department held a community forum to speak directly with residents about the privacy issues. Just outside the Ted C. Wills Community Center north of downtown, Alfred Aldretti stood under the blistering sun, holding a giant sign with the message against flock cameras. He's a community activist with the group Fresno Resistance.
We are here in response to the citizens of Fresno's concerns over mass surveillance here in the city with these flock cameras, the abuse of these cameras by not only the police, by other individuals.
Aldretti has been outspoken against the surveillance system. That night, he was joined by dozens of others. Inside the community center, metal folding chairs were spread out across the floor. One by one, people filed in and took their seats.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Larry Bullen with Fresno Police Department. I want to welcome everyone here tonight to this community meeting.
Fresno Police Chief Mindy Casto was on a stage facing the audience. She was flanked by 3 other department leaders.
And I just want to make sure I have an opportunity to get some facts out, most certainly to try to clear up any misconceptions you may have. And we might leave here obviously not in agreement, but I want to hear you out. I don't want to be the one up here talking all the time.
Community advocates and concerned citizens walked up to a podium to voice their concerns over how the technology from Flock Safety would use and store their personal information.
Surveillance does not equal safety.
I'm afraid of what this could cause for all of us, whether it be you folks, myself, or the Sheriff's Department. Nobody needs to be put in harm's danger over mass surveillance of George Orwell's warnings.
My concern is the mass surveillance without suspicion, the long-term tracking of innocent people, the chilling effects on our constitutional rights.
I've been conflicted of late as I wrestled with the balance of 2 values, the desire for justice and the desire for liberty.
Before this community event, I spoke to Chief Mindy Casto one-on-one about the department's use of these controversial cameras. She addressed some pressing community concerns, including who can access the data that's captured.
So it's stored in a cloud, which has met all of the criminal justice information system requirements. We can access our data, and anybody else who we want to see the data in California, because that's all that's allowed, has to have a written sharing agreement with us. And we see other agencies' data as well in this search database. So we're able to search, and I'm not sure I'm going to get all the points of your question, but we're able to use that database to search for cars primarily related to a crime. It has been a game changer in criminal investigations. It also can be used for missing persons. We've had some stuff where 2 different cases I can think of where children were in cars when they were stolen, and we were able to use this system to quickly locate that car, which was a life or death situation.
And you do right now, I saw the list of agencies that you guys partner with across the state. There's about more than 20 on that list. So that means because they're signed on to this agreement with you, you can access their data and they can access our data? Is that how it works?
Actually, for us to see theirs, it depends. Not all agencies require a formal written memorandum of understanding sharing agreement. We do. For someone else to see our data, we require a written memorandum of understanding. That's one of the controls that we put in place that's not mandated by law, that we've done proactively to help keep our system secure. And anybody who wants to share with us can. It's just in California, the law is such that we don't share outside of California.
And that pertains to federal agencies and other state agencies. Is that how that works?
Correct. Also, California prohibits us from sharing with federal agencies.
Yeah, because a lot of other concerns that have been brought up are, data that would be shown to ICE and affecting immigration enforcement. So is there any instance in which Fresno PD would open that up to a federal agency?
Not absent some kind of court order, and I have not seen anything like that ever. It would be a violation of California law. So no, we have no evidence that there's ever been a breach of data in that regard, or that we've intentionally shared it for immigration purposes. It would violate California state law, the Values Act, with regard to immigration anyway.
Now, some of the agencies that are on this list with this sharing agreement that you have, they have gotten into trouble for sharing information. El Cajon, for instance, the state attorney general sued that city for opening their information to federal agencies. Does that concern you at all as far as security, that another agency might be able to have third-party access and sharing?
Well, we share with El Cajon. We don't share our data for them to share with anyone else. But I don't want to really speak to another agency because I don't know much about that particular case. But the law has cleared that up now. And if there's litigation with El Cajon, the state law is very clear. We don't share those same issues anymore because it's been clarified for us. And so there was a point where maybe that wasn't quite so clear and there was more options. It just doesn't exist anymore.
So when you opted into this contract with Flock in particular, is there like a standard contract that everybody signs on to? You mentioned having other safeguards in place. How did you decide what to include, what to leave out, how to tailor the program for surveillance in the city?
Well, I'll be clear, it's the city. I didn't sign an agreement, and we certainly don't leave it up to the police chief to approve or author agreements. It's a much bigger process and involves our elected officials at City Hall, our city attorney's office, our IT personnel to look at it. And so it went through a rigorous vetting process. I actually have had the opportunity over the weekend to look at some of the agreement language from Los Angeles. It's different than ours, and they have multiple agreements. Some of it's the same, some of it's different. And we are very particular in Fresno, sometimes to our dismay, about how stringent our city is about contracts, particularly technology. So I feel pretty comfortable that the city has done its due diligence to make sure that we're protected.
And talking about, security issues, I know data breaches is a concern for a lot of people. Is that something that has been discussed within the department, within the city?
Yes, absolutely. And data breaches are a concern in this modern world, not particularly with Flock or anything else. It's across the board, right? Whether it's our credit card or our phones, social media, whatever it may be, no different here. And the Flock company, since that's who we're focusing on, they're required to provide us notice. I believe it's within 72 hours of a breach. And that is part of the language in our contract.
And when we're talking about capturing thousands of images probably every day with was it 70 cameras that are located?
70 license plate readers. Yeah.
70 license plate readers. Is there ever a concern that there could be an error in misidentifying a license plate or questioning somebody who is innocent in a crime? Has that ever happened with the department?
That is a serious concern, and that's why our policy is very specific, that it requires officers to visually verify that the plate is what comes up on the hit. And there are some times when the information isn't that good. The officers have to find a different reason to stop the vehicle, that the Flock hit is not sufficient. So we take multiple steps to make sure that we are stopping the right vehicle, and that we're taking steps to make sure innocent people don't get caught up in an investigation they had nothing to do with.
Are there any liability concerns with the department in using this type of technology? Has anything ever come up where legal issues have been brought up, or privacy or freedom issues?
No, we have not seen anything formal like that. I mean, everything we do is a risk, and it's all risk mitigation and risk management, right? And so we try to put the training on the front end. The officers are required to attend training before they have access to the system. And obviously we have a very clear policy on what is and is not allowed. But everything's a risk. We have not seen any litigation or anything like that. But I can tell you this, it has been used to solve a tremendous amount of crime in Fresno. And I wish it weren't so, but we have more than our fair share of crime here, and we've used it to solve over 70% of our murders this year, help solve them. Over 39% of our shootings so far this year, which there have been 189 in this city, not gunshot wound victims, but shootings overall. And it is very effective, because the faster we can solve a violent crime, it prevents retaliatory violence and more shootings. And that formula has been very successful. There's not one answer to addressing crime, violent crime, auto theft, but this is a definite critical piece for us that has allowed us, and I believe agencies across the nation, to really impact crime. And you've seen the statistics across the nation. Why is crime down? People have different reasons and arguments about it, but I truly do believe technology is part of it. It's up to us to do our best to use it responsibly.
And are there plans to expand this even more? Are you looking at more places to add these cameras, expanding the access or the programs in the city?
Yeah, we do have more cameras in this particular contract that we have not put up yet. But beyond that, I think we need to look at the balance. I'm glad you asked that question, because it's not something we've talked about in this interview yet. There is a balance. I don't want to dismiss people's concerns about liberty. There's that old quote from Ben Franklin, like, you shouldn't trade, your liberty for security, and maybe you deserve neither, right? And I recognize that. So we're doing our very best to balance it. Part of that balance is keeping the data for a short period of time, for 30 days, for having our officers attend training before before they get it, the audits that we do, there's a number of steps that we take, requiring a written MOU before we'll share with another agency. We are doing our very best to preserve this tool because we know how valuable it is. And we can talk about a lot of things abstractly, but it's our job to worry about the victims in this city. And I'm going to tell you, you don't want to face a mom who's lost a child to violent crime and not have an ability to solve that case. And this has tremendously helped us to put a stop to violence, to bring some peace to victims' families. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because privacy is important, safety is important. How do we at the Fresno Police Department balance that so that the community is comfortable with it, but we are also getting the job done effectively?
That was my conversation with Fresno Police Chief Mindy Casto. During her meeting with the community, she said there have been no reported cases of misconduct within Fresno's system of flock cameras. However, there have been 9 internal affairs investigations over the past 5 years of officers misusing other databases. In 5 of those 9 cases, the officers were terminated and the other 4 were disciplined, including by being suspended. The current flock contract with the city of Fresno runs until March 2027 and is covered by a state grant. As of now, the Fresno Police Department has had no new contract discussions. And that's today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR. I'm Sarith Hawk. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious, because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.